Classic. Anything BlackBerry does is immediately polarizing to the tech-loving public. There's a lot to like about this phone, there's some not to like, and I want to share my first impressions and thoughts with it as you decide if maybe it's the right choice for you. Let's go ahead and get started. So this is not our full review, that's just my first impressions. I've been using the device for about 4.5 to 5 days. I've been using it in conjunction with another phone, so it hasn't been totally dedicated just to the Classic, but I've been using it every chance I've had, with the exception of making phone calls. Let me preface this by saying, if you're thinking about getting a Classic and you're cross-shopping with something like a Galaxy S5, an iPhone 6 or 6 Plus, the LG G3, Nexus 6, any of those other devices, this is not going to be the phone for you. This is not meant to replace one of those flagship devices. This is by no means a phone that you are going to be happy with if what you want is that device. If you want that device, look at something like the BlackBerry Passport. That's certainly more comparable with the other flagships. This is for a whole different crowd. Very rarely do you see a follow-up to a device that came out like 3.5 years ago almost, to the Bold 9900. That's what this is a successor to, the Bold 9900. It looks very similar to it. You've got, I believe, 70% more screen real estate, the browser's now 3 times faster, battery life lasts 50% longer, all kinds of other sort of specs and such. Battery life, when they say how long it's going to last, is always subjective, but at least bear that in mind. So there's a lot of stuff to like about BlackBerry devices as a whole, and certainly not just the Classic. Let me start with saying this is running the latest BlackBerry OS. It's 10.3.1. And if you haven't tried the new BlackBerry, maybe you looked at it when one of their first devices came out, maybe you tried it with the Q10 or the Z10, and you were like, meh, it's nice, but it's not for me. Or maybe you thought there's no app support. Let me put those sort of prejudices to rest, because those are no longer valid concerns. Not only do you get access to BlackBerry's own app world, which is great for professional apps or security apps, you also have access to Amazon's App Store now built in on the device. It comes with 10.3, and of course this is running a newer one at 10.3.1. So you get access to thousands, I think it's hundreds of thousands actually, of games and music and all kinds of stuff. Anything you can get on one of the Fire devices, you can get on your BlackBerry. And beyond that, you can directly download most Google Play APKs and run them just as you would an Android device on your BlackBerry. So you're almost getting 3 apps worth. Let's just call it 2.5, since not all the APKs are going to work. But you're getting a ton of app support. So if you thought that maybe you wanted to go back to BlackBerry, I think a lot of us out there probably used BlackBerry pre-2007-ish or maybe a little bit after. I know I certainly did. When the iPhone first came out, I switched from probably one of my favorite phones ever, and that was the BlackBerry Pearl to the original iPhone. I've always loved BlackBerry, and certainly I would say it'd be fair to estimate they've lost their way over the past few years, but they're trying to correct that path. Whether or not it's too late or not, that's a whole other discussion. So focusing on the Classic now. So it brings a lot of things I think BlackBerry purists have been wanting. Since OS X came out, we've lost a lot of things that BlackBerry used to have, namely the trackpad, which replaced that little scroll bar in the past, the BlackBerry button, the physical send and end buttons, and the back button. People have been clamoring for those 5 buttons, and you now have them on a phone. And I gotta say, it works really, really well, and it felt familiar picking this up. I know it's kind of weird to say that about a phone, but it felt like an old friend. I use a Bold 9900. I like the Bold 9900. This feels like a more modern version of it, which is exactly what it is. The keyboard, which a lot of people are excited about, it's a full physical QWERTY keyboard, is really nice. You expect that from BlackBerry. It feels great. It's got the right clickiness. BlackBerry said in their announcement of the Classic that BlackBerry phones wear in. They don't wear out. I think that's very true. They get better and better the more you use them. That's definitely the case here. The keyboard just felt absolutely outstanding. I don't know if I'm getting any faster with the physical keyboard or if I'm any faster typing than I am with an on-screen on really any other device, but certainly a more pleasant experience, and typing one-handed is really, really good. I love sort of this full steel frame around the device. It feels very, very premium. And it starts a little under $500, so it's not sort of priced that premium price point if you want to buy it unlocked. I do wish it had a removable battery. You know, BlackBerries have long had removable batteries. Not so here, but you have expandable storage, so you get that. I don't think you're able to swap in a fresh battery like you used to on BlackBerries of old. It's got a 3.5-inch screen, which is bigger than what we saw on the Bold 9900, but still 3.5 inches is 3.5 inches, and it's 3.5 inches square. It's 720 by 720. And for reading emails, it was no problem at all. Emails look crisp and clear, and certainly BlackBerry, I think, hits email so far out of the park that it is into like the next park. Emails come in way faster on a BlackBerry than any other device. I tested sending emails to a BlackBerry when they showed up on my iPhone and Android devices. It was a good 30 seconds earlier on the BlackBerry. So if your email is important to you and that's your main focus of a phone, BlackBerry still really, really, really good there. Doing things like that, this phone is absolutely great. I love being able to scroll through and just be able to use the touchpad and use the touchscreen when I wanted to. It was nice to sort of have those options to be able to navigate through it. We started doing other things with the phone, more leisure things like Facebook. You really started to notice that low resolution square screen. For example, on the Facebook app that comes pre-installed on the device, I could see one picture on my newsfeed, per screen. I'd have to scroll past that picture to get to a status update or anything. And that's a bit of a problem. If you do a lot of social media stuff, you're gonna do a lot of this. Like there's a lot of scrolling going on due to that smaller screen size. Same true with browsing the internet. The browser is good, it's full featured, it works as well as any other browser out there. When it comes to screens, I don't think that I'm that spec hungry. I would insist on a QHD display on my phone, so I think a good 1080p screen is just as good. But you start to notice that it's not a high-res screen when you're viewing images, so bear that in mind. Now, having said that, blacks look pretty black, whites look very white, and if you can deal with this sort of the square orientation of it, things work well. Playing games, especially games that come from the Amazon App Store, look a little weird for a square screen, but they do let you sort of realign your screen for a different aspect ratio, but then you lose the borders, it's black on the side. So it's definitely a bit of a trade-off. We stopped the video real fast with what I think is one of the most important messages that I can give, aside from what phone to buy. Texting and driving is one of the stupidest things you can do. It ranks up there with drinking and driving. You see it all the time when you're on the road. You see somebody next to you looking down at a phone on the freeway, when you're at a stoplight. Anytime you are on your phone, when you are in a car, you are endangering lives. It is never, ever worth it to text back, to send a message, to send a smiley face, whatever it is. Do not look at your phones when you're driving. It seems like such common sense, yet you see so many people doing it. Killing yourself, killing your passenger, murdering another human being because you just had to reply to that text. You will never be able to live with yourself. That is, if you survive. Don't text and drive. Be smart. It's absolutely never, ever worth it. If you take away one message from any of my videos, let it be this. BlackBerry Assistant is here as well. It's not as good as Siri. It's certainly not as good as Google now, but it is functional and it works very well, and you can get the same sort of tasks done. It goes a bit more in depth with what it can do than Siri. I can get access to more core features of the phone, like Cortana can on Windows phones. In that aspect, you might appreciate this over Apple's offering, so at least bear that in mind. I recommend going to a store and trying it. If the assistant's important to you, trying that. If physical keyboard's important to you, try it. You might think you have to have a physical keyboard. Maybe you're still using an old bold. But again, go to a store, try it for yourself. This is by no means a perfect phone. My big fear with a device like this, it's going to be cross-shopped with those flagship phones I mentioned in the beginning. And that's not who this is aimed at all. It's a dual-core processor. It is nicely spec'd out in the RAM department, 2 gigs. But this is not meant to compete with the Galaxy S5, HTC One M8, Nexus 6, and the rest of those. This is meant for a professional who maybe carries 2 phones, is very email-centric, wants to be able to type messages out very quickly, and is familiar with the BlackBerry interface. You've got things like BBM, of course, built in. And don't forget, BBM for BlackBerry also has screen sharing, which is a really cool feature. That's something that's important to you, then really BlackBerry is one of the only options to get. You also get access, of course, to other messaging apps if you don't want to use BBM. But if you haven't tried the modern BBM, again, works very, very well. I think the moral here at the Classic is really the moral with BlackBerry as a whole. It deserves a second look. If you've had preconceived notions, try your best to put those aside and look at the device with fresh eyes. You're going to get really first-class multitasking. You're going to get one of the best QWERTY keyboards going, and that's a hard thing to find on devices nowadays. You get a familiar feel, a device with pretty decent battery life. Not the best camera in the world, it's 8 megapixels, but it'll take pictures. But if you want something that's very business focused, very securely focused, which BlackBerry certainly is, this is a very good choice. So bear that in mind. If you want, you want the flagship specs, you want a great camera, you want to have a full browsing experience, you want a 5-inch screen or larger, you're going to look elsewhere. Don't pick up this phone expecting those things because that's clearly not what it is. You don't go out and buy a Cadillac and expect to get a Dodge. You're looking at different devices. So just bear that in mind and go in looking with fresh eyes and decide for yourself if this is the right device for you. All right, thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Until next time, I'm John Ranger from Techno Buffalo. Check us out at technobuffalo.com, place your greatest tech news, and I'll see you guys next video. Bye-bye. Thank you guys for watching another Techno Buffalo video. I hope you enjoyed. We love consumer electronics here, and if you are as passionate about them as we are, hit the big subscribe button. We've got new videos coming at you every day. We talk about phones, tablets, laptops, and everything in between. And if you like video games, check us out at Twitch, where we play video games, although admittedly not very well, at twitch.tv/technobuffalo. All the links are right down below.